Hello and welcome to this week's edition of VR Vertigo. So, Marathon. I know, I'm talking about Marathon again. Yep, but we've just found out how much it cost. On my other channel, I used an intro, which is frankly too good not to use twice. And so, it cost, brace yourselves, $250 million, $300 million. Yep. 250 million clams. Yeah. 250 million. Have I said 250 million enough yet? I'm just trying to get the message across. 250 million. I mean, that's not chump change. That's a great big whack of cash. And when you saw what the studio delivered, did it look like 250 million bucks worth? It's hard to tell, but to me, no. 250 million bucks worth of game sounds like, I don't know, the most visually extravagant odyssey that a console can deliver, that PC can deliver, that anything can deliver. But no, what did we get? We got flat textures, at least at the first reveal. An environment teeming with objects and flora, but it was all very flat, all very two-dimensional. And I'll give it this much, it was a look, but was it really what gamers want? Generally speaking, gamers want to be impressed. They want to go into a world. They want to play a game in a world which is impressive. A world which gives them all the oohs and ahs and look at that. I wasn't too upset with the look of Marathon initially. As an artist myself, I understand that there are certain artistic choices that one makes in order to get their message across. I'm talking about the visual message. And as such, the original Marathon, as we saw it, did that very well. However, nobody else liked it. And I found myself in a bit of a minority. I was in partial agreement with the masses, and so I just sort of sat back and thought, well, let's see what they come up with. And there's no doubt, what was eventually released to the public was much better, much more to my taste. And the studio looks hell-bent on improving the game. However, it's not all rosy in the Marathon garden. And I won't go over the lamentable numbers here now. Suffice it to say, it cost 250 million and the studio has dug itself a great big financial hole. Marathon is in trouble. And that digging itself out of the hole that it's made for itself will be, at the very least, an immense undertaking. And so, what would have helped Marathon? I've said all along, because this is a VR channel. I get there eventually, that developing Marathon as a hybrid game for flat screen and VR could only help the overall project. If the game could have been delivered so that flat screen gamers and VR gamers could game simultaneously, wow. Imagine the conversations being had then about which style is best, flat screen or VR. On the one hand, flat screen has less latency, but on the other hand, VR has more mobility. It would have been interesting to see how those matches panned out. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The first AAA studio to hybrid develop a game that's competitive in any way, shape or form will be breaking ground and will set off a new competitive discussion which I think will last for years. And that's a good thing. But why is Todd Howard playing in the background, I hear you cry? Well, we've just found out that Starfield has sold just 140,000 copies on PlayStation. Now, this release of Starfield on PlayStation was meant to be a huge affair, a big deal, making Starfield a big prize for PlayStation. Historically, as far as I know, Skyrim did pretty well. But Starfield has sold just 140,000 copies. And that, I think, is way below anyone's estimation of what it was going to actually do. But it's not all bad news. Those 140,000 copies have netted Bethesda 7.7 million in sales. And, well, Bethesda would probably sniff its nose at that, but every little bit helps. So in the midst of everything that's going on with Starfield and PlayStation and the rather poor sales figures, it appears as though Bethesda is trying its level best to keep Starfield relevant. And one can only think that the Microsoft sword of Damocles is hanging over Todd Howard's head. Maybe not to deliver the mortal blow, but certainly to say, we're watching. So in an endeavour to stave off the wolves that are circling, Todd Howard has announced, rather grandly, that there will be ongoing support for Starfield. It's their intention to support it many years down the line, because the figures for their previous games are still very, very healthy. But as this is a VR channel, and yes, I am getting to the point for the second time in this video, there is one avenue that Todd Howard seems unable to look down, let alone go down. And that is hybrid development. Developing Starfield for VR. It's at this point we have to ask ourselves how much more copies would have been sold had Bethesda developed Starfield as a hybrid game. There are currently 2.5 to 3 million headsets currently out there right now. And I'm supposed to believe that the studios that have developed Marathon and Starfield aren't paying attention to this? That they don't believe in any way, shape or form that these PSVR 2 players could enhance the profile of their respective games? I can quite happily see a few 100,000 of that 3 million headsets gravitating towards both Marathon and Starfield. They would have sold more copies, the player figures would have been much healthier, and in Marathon's case, it would have given them a brand new avenue to go down. Well, if flat screen gamers aren't happy to play, then VR players will be. In the world of AAA gaming, we very rarely get second chances, but VR provides not only second chances, but third. And all the while, we VR players, we enthusiasts, are waiting patiently for these wonderful games that are having such difficult times to come our way. We'll gladly strap on the headset and play them. I dare say many of us, including myself, would be quite grateful. And if anyone from any of the studios gets to hear this, then please set up a division, a department, just a few people interested in VR who want to develop for VR and start the VR process. It can't come too soon, and gamers will thank you for it. Because in the cutthroat world of AAA gaming, VR might make all the difference. Do let me know what you think in the comments below. Do like, subscribe and share. It really would help the channel. And until next time, bye bye.